Good morning, class. Let us start with our today's topic, which is determinants of market demand. In our previous section, we studied about individual demand. Okay, we study about the determinant of individual demand. And in this section, we will study about the determinant of market demand. Student, in the case of market demand, all the determinant of individual demand remain constant, and there is only changes in three variable. Okay, like the determinant of individual demands are income, taste and preference, expectations, okay, distribution of income, and consumer credit facility. Okay, so these are the variable of individual demand. These variable remain constant in the market demand, only changes in population, okay, season and weather. Like population also affect our demand, our market demand. Suppose if population increase, due to increase in population, the demand of the market also increases. And in some case, if population of an area decreases, then demand of that particular area also decreases. So the size of population or the size of population determine the market. Okay, that's why the demand of a commodity increases or decreases due to size of the population. Now if we talk about season and weather condition, okay, the season or weather condition also have an effect on consumers demand. For example, demand for woolen cloth goes up during winter, fans, cooler, etc., and the demand more during summer. Similarly, in the rainy season, umbrella and raincoats are in great demand. It simply represents the season and weather conditions also affect the demand of a commodity. Okay, suppose in summer season we use more of those goods which is used in summer, and for winter we use those goods which is more used in winter season. That's why the demand of woolen cloth and demand of like fan, cooler, etc., increases in summer, and demand for woolen clothes, gloves, sweaters increases in winter season. Okay, student, so the season and weather condition of a country, of a geographical area, also affect the demand of a commodity. Now move to our next point, which is government policies. Okay, government policy of a country also affect the demand of a particular commodity, or we can say the different commodities. It may reduce the demand for a commodity by imposing tax on it. If suppose government imposes tax on certain goods, then the demand of that particular commodity may be decreased because of the high prices or because of the tax included in these that particular goods. Okay, or increase the demand by lowering the price through subsidies, or government reduces the price by with the help of subsidies. Okay, for example, in case of cylinder, gas cylinder, you can see that government provide a subsidy. So by those subsidy, the demand of the gas cylinder remain constant. Okay, if the government reduce subsidy on the gas cylinder, then the price of the gas cylinder increases. So it is quite difficult for a poor family or a middle class family to afford that gas cylinder. That's why the government provides subsidies on certain good, so that the mark so that the demand in the market remain constant, or the demand of necessity good remain constant or increases in a due course of time. Okay, or in the market. Now the next is state of business. Okay, the prevailing business condition in a country also affect the level of demand. Okay, for example, during boom period, it means the period is quite good, and during boom period market demand will increases. On the other hand, the level of demand goes down during the period of depression. Okay, or the during the period of recession, like in covid-19 cases. You can see that in this situation, in the global epidemic pandemic situation, the demand of the commodities is constant. Okay, but in certain, the demand also decreases, and not at that much level. Okay, suppose you wish to buy, suppose you demand for certain commodities before this covid-19. Okay, at that time the demand of certain commodities increases. Okay, yeah, suppose the demand of the books at that time is for 1000 quantity. Now due to covid-19, people are children or students are not able to go to market. That's why the demand of that book in this situation is not that thousand quantity. Okay, so due to this, the production may also be decreases, also the affected. Okay, so because of this, the demand of the commodity decreases. There are certain reasons. Okay, now the next is distribution of income. Distribution of income also affect the demand of a commodity. If there is more poor people, then the demand for necessity of life is to be more. Okay, increase in the percentage of rich people will increase the demand for luxury goods. This portion we studied in our topic. Okay, what to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce. This is similarly here so mentioned, like that. For example, if in a certain area poor people are more in number, okay, more in number, then the necessity goods are produced in more quantity as compared to the luxury goods. Okay, and for example, in certain areas the richer people are more in quantity. In that particular area you will find the branded showrooms or luxurious good items because of the income, or because of the richer section. So the distribution of income also affect the demand, determination of market demand. Okay students, now our next topic is law of demand, or the statement of the law. The law of demand states, as we all know, that the law of demand states the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded of a commodity. According to the law, if you talk about the law of demand states that other things remain constant or equal. The quantity demanded of a commodity increases when the price falls and decreases when the price rises. This statement shows our law of demand. Okay, there is one certain, there is a statement like other thing remain constant. All these other things are all the determinants, all the factors which we studied in our demand functions. Like these are function of price of the good, price of related good, taste preferences, expectations, income. So all these variable except price remain constant. Okay, this is simply the statement of law. Okay, this statement of law shows that there is a direct relationship between, there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demand of a commodity. When price of a commodity increases, its quantity demand decreases. When price of a commodity decreases, its quantity demand increases. This is represented by the law of demand. According to Marshall, the amount demanded increase with a fall in price and diminishes with a rise in prices. Okay student, this is our law of demand. Now there are certain assumptions of this law. Okay, these are the assumptions. Without these assumptions we cannot fulfill our law of demand, or our law of demand is a void. If these statement, if these assumptions will not be fulfilled. Okay, what are these assumptions? According to the assumptions, dear students, all the demand function except the price, all the demand function does not change in the market. Okay, they all remain constant. For example, taste and preference of the consumer remain unchanged. Okay, there is no change, there is no change in income of the consumer. Price of related good do not change, or consumer do not expect any change in price of the commodity in the near future. All these variable we studied in our demand function. So all these variable remain constant in the market. Okay, then only law of demand will function in the market. Okay student, now the explanation of law with the help of a tabular presentation. This table or schedule represents the demand function. You can see in this table, table 1.3, that when price of a commodity decreases from 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, then in this situation quantity demand increases to 4, 6, 8, 10. So you can see that when price of a commodity decreases, its quantity demand increases. So this arrow shows that there is a inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded of a commodity. Is it clear, dear student? Now we can see this particular schedule with the help of diagram, which is represented here. Okay, now if you see the diagram, you will find that, okay, all these variables are plotted in our diagram. Student, just see. Okay, this is the price and this is the quantity demanded, and this price is represented in this axis, y axis, and this quantity demand is represented in this axis, which is our x axis. So the price represent in y axis and quantity demand represented in x axis. So you have to plot all these variable. Okay, quantity variable in x axis, price variable in y axis, and then you have to join all these point, and you will find point A, point B, point A, point C, point D. Okay, and you will find a demand curve which is sloping downward. Okay, this is our demand curve, like this, which is sloping down. This is our demand curve. Okay, student, which represents that when price of a commodity increases, then quantity demand decreases, which you can find easily in point B, A and C. This is simply known as our demand curve. Okay, and this is the diagram of our demand curve. Okay, student, now next move to our next topic, which is causes of operations of law of demand, or why does demand curve slope downward to the right. Dear student, as you see in our diagram, that our demand curve, like this, demand curve is sloping downward, like this is our price, this is our quantity. In this diagram you find that our demand curve, this D, our demand curve is sloping downward. You can see this is sloping downward. Okay, that's why demand curve sloping downward to the right. Why this demand curve sloping downward to the right? We are going to study their causes about the downward sloping of demand curve. Dear student, there are several causes. Okay, out of which first is law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, this is one of the main condition for downward sloping of demand curve. Now, what is law of diminishing marginal utility? The law of diminishing marginal utility states that when an additional unit of a commodity is consumed, the marginal utility derived from it is decline. Okay, because of the reason that the earlier unit of consumption have partially satisfy our want. Okay, this is known as law of diminishing marginal utility. We can understand this term with the help of example. Suppose in a hot summer day you are thirsty. Okay, you drink one glass of water. Okay, so the satisfaction provided by the first glass of water is too much high. Okay, it is too much high. Then you drink another glass of water. Okay, it give you little bit less satisfaction because your thirst is satisfied. Okay, now when you take the third glass of water, it will give you less satisfaction because your thirst is already satisfied. Okay, now you are now you are not thirsty anymore. Now when you drink fourth glass of water, then your satisfaction start decreases, and you are at optimum level of satisfaction. Now when you take the another glass of water, you will half finish that particular glass, and after that you will left it. Okay, and the when next glass you will take, you will go to the washroom. Okay, student, because this represents when we consume a commodity. Okay, when we consume a commodity in a continuous basis, then initially the level of satisfaction increases. At a point we become fully satisfied, and after that when we consume the another unit of the commodity, its satisfaction given by that particular commodity, or utility, marginal utility given by that particular commodity, every additional unit of that commodity start decreasing. This is known as law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, student, now let's move to our next point, which is income effect. Income effect also play an important role. Okay, now income effect, a change in demand on account of change in real income resulting from change in the price of a commodity is known as income effect. Okay, student. Okay, income effect implies a change in demand due to a change in consumers real income. When the consumers real income changes, due to which, okay, due to which, why there is a changement in real income. Okay, this is because of changes in price. Okay, because of changing in price, the income of the consumer increases, the real income of the consumer increases. That's why he demand more of the commodity. We can understand this with example of a commodity. Suppose price, we have quantity, and we have income. Okay, three things we have. Now prices of a commodity is 60. When price is 60, quantity demanded is 10. At that time our income is rupees 1000. Okay, when our income is rupees 1000 and a commodity price rupees 60, we demanded only 10 of that commodity. Okay, now when price decreases by 50, suppose the commodity price decreases by 50, our income remain constant. हमारी income अभी भी 1000 ही है. Then in this case quantity demanded increases by 12. Okay, so you can say that income remain constant. When price fall, we increase our quantity demanded. Okay, this is income effect. Or suppose in this example, if quantity demand remain constant, like 10, like in this case, if quantity demand remain constant, like 60 rupees 60, quantity demanded 10, income is 1000. And again, when price is 50, quantity demand 10, and that time income remain constant. So in this case minus 600, okay, and 400 is the remaining amount, and in this case minus 500 and 500 is the remaining amount. So you can see that, so you can easily see that this is 400, okay, in our first example, and 500 in our next example. So we can find that rupees 100 is saved. In this case we will save rupees 100. Okay, rupees 100 is our saving. This is not because of changes in income, this is because decrease in price. Okay student, this is simply is our income effect. Due to this the demand curve slope downward. Okay student, now next is substitution effect. Now substitution effect here means the substitution of a cheaper goods for relatively costlier one. Okay, when we substitute a cheaper good for the costlier one, it is simply known as the substitution effect. Okay, when the price of a commodity falls and the price of its substitute remain unchanged, okay, it becomes relatively cheaper in compared to the other commodity. Okay, this is simply known as substitution effect. For example, when price of coffee decreases and price of tea remain constant. Okay, so in this situation demand of coffee increases and people switch from tea to coffee because price of tea is constant, but the price of coffee decreases, so everyone wishes to buy a superior commodity, so that's why the tea consumer switches to coffee. Okay student, this is our substitution effect. Now move to our next point, which is change in the number of buyers. Okay, when price of a good falls, many new buyers start demanding the goods which they were not able to buy earlier due to the high price. That's why the demand increases. Suppose initially the iPhone is of rupees 40,000. Now due to shortfall in price, the 40,000 iPhone you will receive, you will get in rupees 30,000. So you can find that the demand of iPhone increases because of the decrease in prices. So this is the change in number of buyers. Now next is different uses. A commodity have different uses, that's why the demand of that particular commodity also affect our demand curve. Like in the case of milk, in the case of steel, in the case of iron. Okay, like milk is used for tea, curd, cheese, butter, etc. If price of such a commodity increases, its uses become restricted only to more important uses. Okay, not for every purpose, only for more important use. As a result demand for milk fall. Or on the other hand, when price of milk falls, it is used even for less important uses, say for preparing cheese, butter, etc. As a result demand of milk rises. Okay student, so these are the main causes of downward sloping of demand curve. Our next topic is exception of the law. Okay, so in certain cases our the law of demand does not work because of the exceptions in law of demand. Okay, in these cases law of demand shows the inverse relationship between. In our law we studied that when price increases, quantity decreases, quantity demand decreases. When price decreases, quantity demand increases. But in the exceptions of the law, we will find there is an inverse relationship, there is a direct relationship. When price increases, quantity demand increases. When price decreases, quantity demand decreases. Okay, there are many reasons for these exceptions. The first one is Giffen goods. Giffen good is also known as inferior goods. This concept is given by Professor Robert Giffen. Okay, according to this concept, when income of a consumer increases, okay, then he will switch to the next then he will switch to the superior commodity as compared to the inferior commodity, as though inferior goods on which the consumer spend a large portion of his income and the demand for which falls with a fall in their prices. It is known as Giffen goods or the Giffen condition. As the price, for example maize, as the price of maize falls, the real income of the consumer rises. With an increase in the real income, a consumer may afford to purchase superior goods like rice or wheat. Okay, student. For example, the same example, like our income is rupees 1000 and maize price is rupees 50, 50. Okay, and we demanded 10 quantity, then the total expenditure is 500. And suppose maize prices decreases, okay, from 50 to 25. Now 25 into 10, 250. So in this case we save rupees 250. Okay, now our real income is 750. So at that 750 we can spend in some other goods. Okay, student, this is simply known as Giffen goods or inferior goods. In the case of inferior goods, our demand curve, with increase in price, our demand increases, okay, not decreases in the case of Giffen good. Now next is prestige good. This is known as veblen good also, or this is also known as articles of snow appeal. This good is also known as article of snow appeal. Okay, in this goods it represents our social status. Okay, this is also known as conspicuous consumption. Example, diamond. Okay, diamond is often given as an example in this case, like rich women would like to buy diamond simply because its price is very high. The higher price make the possession of diamond more prestigious. Okay, it represents the social status of the people. When the price of diamond goes up, their prestige value will also go up. Therefore, at high price, the quantity demanded of diamond by richer women may increases. Okay, student. Now next is ignorance. Sometimes consumers think that high price goods are better in quality, so they buy more of the commodity at a higher prices. Okay, sometimes we assume that when price is high, then the quality is also good. Okay, means price is taken as an index of quality. High price, quality is good, that's why this is known as ignorance. Okay, in this case when price increases, quantity demand increases. Okay, student. Now last one is necessities. The law is not applicable in case of basic necessities of life such as medicines, food grains, salt, okay, roti, bread, etc. Minimum quantities of these goods have to be purchased whenever or yeah, whatever may be price high or low. Okay, student, these are the necessity goods. So in this case, in the case of necessity goods, again the law of demand does not work. Okay, student, now that's it for today class. We will meet our next class with our new topic, which is change in demand. Thank you, student.